Hey, besties and bosses. Happy Tuesday. All right, let's see. I am trying something new. I feel like I'm always trying something new for our tech stuff. Let's see if this is working. Okay, it's saying I am now live. So happy Tuesday, besties and bosses. How are you all doing? I am trying this within our Facebook, the I don't know, what do you call it? The manager. So I'm trying going live in a different way. Usually I go live from my phone. So we're going to see if this works any better. I have a camera that I've been wanting to use forever that's a little bit better than my phone. So we're gonna test this out today, but I got to figure out how to get your comments. So we're going to do that real quick. So while I'm doing that, if you're live, say hello. If you're catching on the replay, say hello. I always love to know how you're doing, how your week is going, how was your weekend. I don't know about you, but I feel like I keep hearing more and more people who are getting this newest strain of COVID and who have been sick. So I hope everyone is feeling well. And I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to see the comments this way. But I'd love to know how everyone is feeling. I'm going to actually pull this up one other way while I'm doing this. I somehow pulled up a map instead. I am really excited to hang with you all today. We're going to have a really good conversation. I cannot multitask. I wanted to talk a lot about pitching and pitch strategy. This is something that comes up quite a bit for my clients, and hopefully this will be really valuable for you. And what I want to offer as we're chatting through this is, even if you don't think you want to pitch or to do a collab, this is going to be a valuable conversation because everything we're talking about today really is related to sales and selling. Okay, this is not going to let me pull up comments, so I will pull this up on my phone to check oh, here, I see where I can see the comments. Cool. Okay, I got it. We are here. Nala is here. We can dive into everything. Before we dive into our conversation today, don't mind me being a little scattered there. Reminder, we are doing a giveaway. We've been doing a giveaway most weeks. This week we're going to give away a copy of Content That Stands Out and Sells. It is a self-study content course. I've literally had people use this to go from a couple hundred a month to 10K months and then hire me afterwards. So it is simple and really powerful and effective. We're giving away one copy of that. All you got to do is say hi, leave me an emoji. Now on the replay, I know many of you watch on the replay, we will pick a winner on Thursday. We'll DM you and reach out with that if you are the winner of that. So would love to give this to someone here. Now for today's conversation, before we dive into the pitch strategy and really how you can use a strategy to leverage more collaboration so that you can increase your reach and your network and your bottom line, everything we're talking about here in the title, I want to spend a moment and talk a little bit about why we even want to care about collaborations and just some normalization around pitching. And then I will break down some ways I think about pitching, what I've seen to be really effective in and outside of our space. This is what I've used. This is what my clients have used. This is what works really well for me on the receiving end as someone with a podcast. And then I'll actually walk you down literally a really simple template you can use to pitch yourself for more of those opportunities. Oh, yay, I'm literally just starting to pitch. Yay for starting to pitch. So this is going to be great for you because we're talking about pitching for collaborative opportunities. And I think what's so great is kind of what you're saying here is when we pitch for a collaborative opportunity, it's the same as pitching for sales. So the strategy, the process, the mindset behind it is really the same. And want to remind everyone that even if you're not trying to pitch yourself for a podcast, or even if you are, I don't know if that's exactly what you mean. Either way, this is going to benefit and support you. So where do I want to start with this? I think the first thing that I want to remind everyone, because we're specifically talking more about collaborations today, just so we're all on the same page. When I say something like a collaboration, I mean pitching yourself to be on someone's podcast as a guest, or doing a joint live stream with someone, or joining someone's summit, or pitching someone to be on your podcast, or to come into your group and do a live stream, or to pitch yourself to do a blog post for someone else. Anytime we are looking to share our work and to combine our forces with someone else's creative talents, we are generally going to pitch ourselves or be pitched for that collaborative opportunity. And I think this is something most of us know, but I feel like it's always worth kind of just having some of the foundational conversation here just as a reminder as to why we would even want to do that and why that might even be beneficial to your business. And what I like to remember when we're looking at marketing and sales, and we're looking at creating sustainable businesses, and we're looking at making money in our businesses, so often a big part of your sales strategy is kind of rewinding the tape back to the beginning and getting in front of the people who are going to be a really great fit for your service and your work, so that you can build a relationship, so that you can pitch your services to them, right? So you can make that sale and offer. This is why many of you are focused on building audiences and building up email lists and building up social media followings, right? We want to have people in front of us who are a great fit for our work that we can sell to. And we do this in lots of different ways, right? There are all sorts of ways. Some of us get live, like I am right here. Some of us have our own podcast. Some of us create written content. There are all sorts of ways to grow your audience. And what we always want to remember when we're building an audience, we're getting in front of people, there is that getting in front of someone like I am today, and I'm nurturing a relationship with you. But if you're here, you've already found me from somewhere else. You're already in my inner circle, right? I am nurturing a relationship. I've already started with you. But for you to first get here, you had to find me somewhere else, right? I had to get in front of you somewhere else. Most of you did not wake up one day and magically appear in my Facebook group. You had to stumble your way here through either you did a Google search and you found the Facebook group, or you heard me on someone else's podcast and you found my Facebook group, or you saw my post in another Facebook group, right? There's some way outside of this group you came into contact with me. We got to say hi socially online for the first time, connect before you came into this group. Is that tracking for everyone? Kate says, ooh, this is something I've decided I'll be working on this year. I've been lucky that in the past I've been approached, but I'm rubbish at approaching others. Well, we are going to change that, because I bet that you are way better at it than you think you are. And we're going to make it super, super simple. And so great that you've been approached as well. I think that is the beauty of putting out content regularly. You do get approached more. Yvonne says, yep. Okay. The comments are going in reverse here, but I can see them, so I am excited. And we have a camera that works, so I am excited. So, and I think what you're saying, Yvonne, yep, too, is you first had to find me somewhere else before you could land here. And there's many strategies for that, right? Like you go pay a bunch of money to Facebook or to Instagram. You could pay for some Facebook ads. You could pay for some Google ads. One of the things we do to get in front of new people is I share my content in other Facebook groups, right? Like there are plenty of strategies for you to get visible, for you to expand your reach, to get in front of new people, to start those relationships, so that you can start those relationships to then nurture them in wherever you like to nurture relationships. You don't have to do it the way I do it, but right, there's lots of different strategies and ways to do this. And collaborations are one really powerful way that you can get in front of new audiences, get in front of new people, and start that new relationship. And what's beautiful about a collaboration is you usually start a relationship and are building it at the same time, because often when you're doing a collaboration with someone, you're getting the benefit of some time and space to actually have a deeper conversation of some sort, which helps not just start the relationship but nurture it. And you're getting the benefit of being with someone that person who's paying attention to you, listening to you, reading your work, they already usually have some sort of a relationship with that person you're collaborating with. So they already have some know, like, and trust with someone else. And that forms a different kind of bond, a different kind of attention, a different kind of social proof, which has them pay attention to you in a slightly different way than if they're just mindlessly scrolling online and seeing your stuff in another group. I love that strategy as well. We are not hating on that. But you can see how if you're doing a collaboration, not only does that help you leverage someone else's audience, expand your reach, get in front of some new people, kind of speed up the relationship building process, because you usually get to share a little bit more value, a little bit more about you, but there's that really added benefit of usually there's another person there that someone already knows, likes, and trusts. This is sort of like anyone who's ever been a part of, like, had your best friend and like gone to hang out with your best friend and her friends or his friends, and it's so much easier than to make friends with your other friends' friends, because you already have some of that similarity. You trust them a little bit more. Or if you've ever been set up by a family member or a friend, even though the person you're getting set up on a date with, maybe you don't know them at all, you feel like you trust them a little bit more because someone you trust has introduced you to them. Right? Is that tracking? So when you're doing a collaboration, it's kind of like being set up. It's kind of like going to meet one of your bestie's friends. There's just a little bit more of that comfort, that safety, that like, oh, well, I trust this person, so you must be at least like worth me paying attention to and listening to. You must not be as much of a stranger on the internet. And I think the game we're all playing here is relationship building. And relationship building, yes, it's that know, like, and trust, but it's online. We don't have that same in-person vibe we get all the time. So anything we can do to help create a little bit more of that safety, create a little bit more of that bond, create a little bit more of that, like, oh, okay, this isn't like so weird that I'm meeting you on the internet. Like, I got a little bit more of a feel for you, is really going to support you in, yes, starting those relationships and nurturing them in a way that really supports sales in your business. I'm just seeing here because I want to make sure I don't lose these comments. Okay, I don't think there were more comments, but y'all have to, if I'm missing something, because I think this shows me comments in a different way, and I thought it just popped something, retype it for me, or let me know if I'm missing anything. But I think, no, I think this is everything. This is very fascinating. Have you all gone live on the, inside the live dashboard before? I'm all about simplicity and doing things as simply as possible. This is not the most simplest possible way to do things, but that's okay because it's what we're doing today. So in terms of collaborations, I know we're going to talk about the pitch strategy, but I wanted to spend a little bit of time just kind of on that foundational piece, helping highlight why we might even want to do that, why that might even be a worthwhile effort, why that might be a part of your marketing and sales strategy that would be worth paying attention to. Particularly because part of the pitch strategy I'm going to share a little bit about here, I think maybe is a little bit more effort than just kind of like the spray and pray cold pitching approach. I think it works far, far better and the results are far, far better. But I think it's really helpful for us to all understand, like, why would we even bother to do some of these things? And I think what we want to see is the result on the other side, the benefit on the other side really can be so, so powerful for your business. And something I'm just seeing in our online space right now is, and I'm sure you're all noticing as well, is it's just getting busier and louder and more crowded online, which isn't a bad thing. I always say I think that's a great thing. That means it is just, there's more opportunity, there's more people online, which means there's also more, I mean, there's not just more options for people, but that also makes it safer for people to connect and invest through the online space. I don't think saturation is a bad thing at all. I think it means there is demand. However, when we have saturation, when we are in market spaces that either, your niche is more crowded, again, not a bad thing, but, it can just be simply a thing in your market space, or just overall the online space is a little bit louder. We're always looking at, well, how can we be heard above the noise? How can we continue to start those relationships, nurture those relationships with the people who are right for our audience? And used to be, 6 years ago, Facebook ads, I think, were really great for many people. I still have plenty of clients using them. They can still be a great tool, but what we're seeing as saturation goes up, so does the ad cost, and ad spend is becoming more and more expensive. Cost per lead is becoming more and more expensive. This does not mean that is a bad thing. That doesn't mean that if you're using them for your business, that has to be a bad thing. I think ads can have a really beautiful place in many businesses. But for many of you who are leveraging organic marketing and where that doesn't really make sense, we can start to look at, well, what are the other ways that we can be heard above the noise without having to increase the spend or the cost per lead. And I know many of you here are super heart-centered, so we don't always like to think about our people as a lead and a cost per lead, but really that's the business we're in. If we're marketing, we are generating leads. We're creating a pipeline of leads. So I think collaborations can just be one of the tools you can have in your tool belt that can be really valuable for that and really keep your cost, your spend down. Okay. Yvonne says the collaboration is more intentional. Absolutely. I absolutely agree that it's more intentional, and it's like a crack for relationship building is the way, and building trust is the way I see it. Now, let's talk about, okay, we're on the same page for collaborations. We think collaborations are great. This is something we want to do. How the heck do we go around pitching ourselves for collaborations or pitching others to be a part of, if you want to have someone come into your Facebook group or come onto your podcast, how might we pitch someone in a way that's going to be more effective? If you're on my email list, you saw I sent an email out about this, and one of the things I was sharing is I have a podcast, as many of you probably know, One Question, Unapologetic Questions for Unapologetic Results, and I get pitched almost daily by someone who wants to be a guest on the podcast. And the truth is, we lovingly, kindly, don't accept about 95% of the people who pitch the podcast. And it's for some of the reasons we're going to talk about today. And I want to help you see why those reasons and then what are some of the ways we can pitch more effectively. So you're not one of the 95% when you're pitching yourself somewhere that's getting ignored. So you can see how can you slow down to speed up, do less better, but how can you increase the yeses you're hearing from those pitches, from those proposals you're making. it feels very important for me to say two things. One, I realize you might not want to pitch yourself for my podcast. That is not what this is about. We're talking about, you might want to pitch yourself for other opportunities. And two, currently we are not accepting podcast guests. So if you have reached out recently and I have said to you that we're not accepting podcast guests right now, that is the sincere truth. I don't have a show where we have a ton of guests, and most of the guests we do have are clients of mine or people I have a really close relationship with. It is more of a solo show, so I do want to be super mindful because I know some of you might have pitched recently and we're just simply not accepting guests right now. So that is the truth. However, when I see a lot of the pitches we get, even if I were accepting more guests, or if we're accepting guests right now, I would see, oh, well, with all the love in the world, there's no way for me as someone who cares about the quality of the conversation I'm having on my podcast, there's no way for me to know from the pitch I'm getting if this is someone who's going to be a good fit for my podcast. It's not even about them being good enough or not good enough or fit or not. The way in which I often get pitched, just it leaves me with pretty much nothing to make any great basis of a decision on. And if I can't make a great decision based on what you're sending me as a pitch, and I'm not reaching out to you with all the love in the world, I'm busy. I have a team. We've got a bunch of clients that we're serving. I'm not going to go out of my way to figure out why you might be a great fit for my podcast. And the same is going to be true for anyone else. I just want to see. Okay, I see how to see the comments now. So I think these are things we want to think about, because one of the things I notice when I get pitched so often is I find unintentionally, this isn't to call anyone out, but I think what happens so often is the pitch is framed through what's in it for me as the person who's pitching someone else. Here's what's in it, like what's in it for me, how can you help me? And this is also something that'll benefit you with sales, right? Whether you are pitching someone to be on their show or pitching someone your offer, one of the things I'm always reminding my clients is that it's not about you, right? It's not about you. It's always about the person we're pitching to. If you are selling an offer, right, it's not about you. It's about how your product or service can help someone solve a problem, help them get a result. It's what's in it for them that they want to give you that energy exchange of money, right, to pay you, right? Like, it's not about you and the money you want to make and the business you want to build, even though that's a byproduct of selling. When you're actually making an offer, it's about the potential client in front of you. When you're pitching someone for a podcast or a live stream or, I don't know, a blog or a book or a membership somewhere, right? I literally just am pitching myself for a social club here in New York City. And I literally just use this same, what I'm going to walk you through here, process for that. And I had to remember when I was filling out the application, it's not about me. They don't give two F's about me. They want to know, how can I benefit them? How can I, as a member, how am I going to benefit them outside of giving them money? And so that's what I want to invite you to think about before we kind of go through the template part of this, is as you're thinking about pitching, thinking about, why should the person that you're pitching to, and not like in a negative, like, why should they bother to have you on their show, but really thinking through the lens of, why should they have you on their show? What's the benefit of having you on a live stream with them? What are you bringing to the table? How can you help them? How can you help them fill a need? What's the problem they're trying to solve? So the problem they're trying to solve might be creating some new great content that's really going to serve their audience, that's really going to help their audience get a specific result. Maybe the problem they're trying to solve is they've got a launch coming up and they really need to increase their reach. They really need to increase their list size. So maybe that's part of the problem they're trying to solve. But how can you think through, what's the problem this person's trying to solve, and how can I help them solve that problem, and what's the benefit result on the other side? So if they want some great content, how can you help them see you're going to help solve that problem for them, so they don't have to worry about a content topic? You have got them covered. If they're trying to increase their reach, how can you help them see you're going to promote the heck out of whatever you're sharing, and they're going to get to leverage your audience and really get the benefit of, getting in front of all of those new eyeballs? How can you really start to put your hat on, this is all about the person in front of me, not me landing a new, collaborative opportunity? So hopefully that makes sense. I would say, even if you don't watch the rest of this live stream and you don't hear me on the pitch template that we're going to walk through, I love me a good template. We'll walk through that as well. Or you don't want to hear the pitch strategy. If nothing else, if you just switch your mindset and frame of mind with everything you're pitching to, how is this not about me? How can I take the focus off myself and put it all on the person in front of me and get clear on what is the problem they need solved? How can I help solve that problem? How can I get them a result, a benefit? What's in it for them as opposed to what's in it for me? That will change the game in your whole business. I was literally having a conversation with a client about this, I think yesterday, and we were talking talking about how like it can feel so like a little bit of a mind fuck, because of course when you're selling anything, pitching anything, like the brain just wants to go to like how that's going to support the business, especially when you're feeling like, oh, I just need to fill a client spot, or I just need to land this podcast so I can get more visible to book clients. But whenever we're in that frame of mind, it makes it so much harder to get the yes anywhere. And as soon as we flip it around, it really is like, how can you come from a place of service? And it can seem counterintuitive, but imagine if you're someone on the other side. Imagine if someone's going to come into your Facebook group or onto your podcast. If they're making it all about you and all about how they can support you and benefit you, aren't you going to be so much more receptive? Okay, so again, I know some of these things might seem like foundational elements, but I think sometimes it's just so helpful for us to go back to these basics and see it also doesn't have to be more complicated than that. And sometimes when we're not hearing the yeses we want, whether that is for pitching collabs or pitching clients, sometimes it's not as complicated as our brain wants it to be. And sometimes it is really just reworking the basics, reworking the simple foundational things, coming back to basics and just getting better at those basics. I feel like I've been on a soapbox about that recently. But I have been for good reason, because it's been 6+ years in business. And what I keep coming back to and seeing is I'm not doing anything new in business. We just keep getting better at the basics. So kind of step one here, before we even go into pitch strategy, I would invite you like mindset shift. How can I make this all about the person in front of me? How can I get curious? How would I be a benefit to them versus how would this benefit you? Now, with the actual, and let me know if you have questions as I'm going through any of this. And I just did weird. Okay, there we go. Before we go again into the template, the strategy itself that I walk clients through, this is super, super simple. It's really based on relationship building and putting in some legwork up front, and then an actual pitch template that demonstrates and shows the relationship you've built and how you've made this all about the person in front of you. And yes, I will say up front, this is probably a little bit more work than cold copying and pasting a cold pitch template that you have created that you just kind of like spam 25 podcasts or Facebook groups. However, I get those literally every day. I can tell when something has been copied and pasted. I can tell when someone has sent zero legwork, especially with my podcast, because my podcast focuses on one question. So it always cracks me up, and we don't take very many guests. So it always cracks me up when I just get like the copy and pasted thing where it's like they've listened to my podcast and they love it. And then what they're pitching me has nothing to do with anything we ever talk about on the podcast, because we're always unpacking one question. So I have an easier way to tell, but I'd venture a guess most people can tell when it's just copy paste. And most people who care about who they're sharing with their audience are going to care about the person they're bringing on being a really great fit for their audience. I know I value all of you so much and the time and space we get together. So I'm mindful of who, not from like trying to think about it. I'm mindful of like, I want to make sure I'm bringing, if I bring someone to you, that it's someone I really trust and someone I really believe is going to have a similar mindset and think about things in a way that I think is valuable to share with you. And I imagine most people with platforms, with anything they would collaborate, feel similarly. So with that, this is again, we're going back to basics, but I would offer, do a little legwork first and pick some people you want to collaborate with that are a fit for you, the work you do. Now this, like, think outside the box. This doesn't always have to be the same exact industry, the same exact niche. I think it can actually be really beneficial when we go outside of our industries. Not that you can't, there's no such thing as competition in my opinion. I think there's collaboration over competition always, but I think there can be so many benefits outside of our own industry. We just always want to think, would their audience still be a fit for what I'm selling, and is my audience going to benefit whoever I'm pitching myself to? Because one of the things we always want to bring to the table if we're pitching is helping show how you can also bring that collaboration benefit of also leveraging your audience, because you're going to be a great guest and promote the heck out of anything you're doing on someone else's platform. So don't be afraid to collaborate with people outside your industry, but these are things I would invite you to think about before you even sit down to write a pitch template. Yvonne says, yes, that's my goal. I love that is your goal. And tell us more. So And then remembering and coming through the frame of mind of, I always like to think, how can we cross promote? How can we cross pollinate? How can we leverage one another's audiences? As opposed to just, how can I leverage someone else's audience, right? Even if I'm sharing something in a Facebook group that isn't mine, I'm always thinking, how can I make sure I'm adding value to this other Facebook group? Not just how can I leverage this Facebook group to bring more people my way. So thinking again through that same lens of like, we're cross pollinating. Now, and I'm just giving you, these are like literally, I pulled up the template I give my clients. This is literally what I like walk my clients through in terms of like just simple things to think about. So next thing here, before we even go to the template, before we even walk through like, here's what I would say if I was pitching someone, I would invite everyone here, and this is the same whether you're looking to book your next paying client or you are looking to pitch your next PR collab type event. I would always invite you to, and if you had a call with me recently, and like this is where because I know I've had a benefit of connecting with a few of you in this group, I've probably said something to this effect, which is, who are the low-hanging fruit people in your network? Meaning, because I think that can be a funky, almost not nice sounding term, but who are the people you already have relationships with? Who already knows, likes, and trusts you? Who do you already know, like, and trust that you could collaborate with, or that you could reach out to talk about your work or services, if we were talking more on the client building side. We're talking collabs today. And I say this because I find it's just really fascinating how, especially as high achievers, and most of my clients, I would qualify them as high achievers, how much the brain wants to look for what is the hardest, biggest platform for me to pitch? Who has the biggest audience? Who is like the most successful? Where can I get the most reach? Like almost like, what's the hardest way for me to do this, and the hardest person that I could collaborate with? And I don't know, we could go into a whole mindset thing about why we do that, right? Like, I think there can be the high achieving side of that. I think sometimes we do that because we know then we don't have to actually go for the yeses we could hear, and it's like a sneaky way to take action and stay safe. There's so many funny ways the brain does this. And I think sometimes we also just miss what's right in front of us, and it seems too easy. And I think many of my high achievers, and I'll raise my hand for that, we love to find the way that just feels a little more challenging and hard. But I would invite everyone here. Notice how we haven't even gone into any like complicated strategy yet, but just think through, who do I already know? And who could I already connect with, who's already in my circle that I might be able to collaborate with? My guess is if you're here, you could probably come up with 5 people right now that you already have a relationship with, that you could reach out with, that you could cross-pollinate and benefit one another. And I would say always start there, not only because it's an easier yes and an easier connection point, but if you already have a relationship with someone, you don't have to do some of the legwork we're about to talk through in terms of relationship building, and you're naturally already going to have a connection with this person, so you're probably going to have a better collaboration. One of the reasons when I do accept guests, one of the reasons I love highlighting and supporting my clients, so they always get first priority. But one of the reasons most of my other guests or people I already have relationships with is I just know it's going to be, I know they're a fit, but I know it's going to be so much easier for us to have a great conversation. And so let it be easy. Yvonne says, I can co-sign that. Yes, I think you're talking about the making things harder or possibly the way I like to challenge people around low-hanging fruit. But really, I would just see there's so many benefits to this. And I think the brain sometimes like, oh, but that doesn't count because I already know them, or that doesn't count because they don't have an audience of 5 billion people. And I will remind you what I remind most of my clients, for most of you here, most of you, whatever it is you're selling, whether you're selling one-to-one or you're selling a group program, most of you are looking for at most a large handful of new people to come through the door. Even if you sell a really big group program, like a really, really big group program, you're still looking for maybe 2 large handfuls of people to come through the door. I don't think anyone in this group really is selling anything where we're needing hundreds of thousands of people to come through the door, which is such a blessing. It makes your job so much easier. And I think that's something to remember when we're doing collaborations. It's so easy to discount the low-hanging fruit and the opportunities right in front of us, and to think, well, that audience isn't big enough, or like, that doesn't count because I already know them, or like, that's not a big enough deal. And to forget that every time you're collaborating with someone else, even a handful of new people are connected with you, that can make a huge difference in your business. I think about this sometimes, or if one new person connects with me, one new person in my business can make a massive difference, particularly because I'm one-on-one. and particularly because many of my clients stay with me for years and years. So I know for my model, it's a little bit different. But let's just say I ran a big group program and it wasn't even one-on-one. One new person coming into my world is more than possibly one new client. That's also one more person who can be a word of mouth marketer, who might now listen to my podcast and share it on their Instagram stories, or who might leave a review, or who, when I'm launching, let's say I have a group program, who tells 3 of their best friends how much they love that to bring that in. I think we sometimes get so short-sighted and so almost like numbers happy, and we forget about the power of one and the depth of one relationship. So I'm not saying that you can't go for the big platforms, but I really want to help illuminate how much benefit there can be to what's already in front of you and how much power there can be in that for your business. Yvonne says everybody knows someone who knows someone else. Exactly. And that's kind of the whole name of the game in business. I mean, that's all we're doing when we're paying for Facebook ads, is we're paying Facebook ads to benefit all, like someone knows someone else knows someone else, but it's the same exact thing we're doing here. And I know I've shared this in the group, but it's probably worth reminding everyone here. I got booked out. Like, I have a group now, we're like at 16,000 people. I think it's easy to think like, oh, but Kim, that's easy for you to say. You have 16,000 people in your group, and like that's why you're booked out, and that's why it's super easy to book clients. But I got booked out of my business when we had, a handful of people in this group, when my email list was, I don't know, maybe it was 600 or 700 people max. And honestly, I think I could have been booked out with far fewer people on my list. I was just getting my own way and not selling enough. So I think it could have been far less than that. And I was just chatting about this with a client today. Quite honestly, as this group grows, it's such a gift to me to get to connect with you. But it's not like as the group grows, there's that many. I sold the same availability in my business. And the beautiful thing as the group grows is there's more collaboration opportunities between all of you. It's not always me to everyone else in the group. And I share that here because, again, I think we just get so, it's just so easy to create these stories. And then because of that, to not take action, or to think you have to wait, or to think something doesn't count, or that it can't benefit you. And that's what can delay growth more than anything. I love to go off on side tangents. Don't mind me. I promise we will get to more of the strategy as well, but that feels important. So start with the low-hanging fruit. Now, if you're like, I have exhausted the low-hanging fruit, I do want to go after some people, I don't know, and I really want to like put myself out there in a bigger way. Amazing. We are also not making that wrong. That can be a wonderful thing. Let's talk about that strategy a little bit. And I want to talk about the pre-work to the pitch template, which is really, I think, the pitch strategy that I think is so beneficial. And this works for booking clients as well. And then we'll walk through a really simple way you can actually reach out to new people. And it feels important to say, this is not some like thing where I'm like, this sounds good. This is literally, I've like perfected this over a decade. This is the same strategy. We did a live on the art of cold pitching, which I will see if I can find. Probably did it last year. I'll see if I can link the replay. But this is something I've been perfecting in my life for probably the last 15, 20 years. This is the same thing I used when I was acting to pitch myself to agents who didn't know who the F I was from any other person running around Los Angeles acting. This is the same strategy I use to get a job in Los Angeles when I need something to pay the bills. This is the same strategy I used when I moved to New York City with no job and no contacts and no experience outside of waiting tables and acting, and broke into the advertising industry as a rep on the rep side. This is the same strategy I've used in my business to book clients, to help other clients book clients, to help other clients get networking and PR opportunities. So just to give you a little context, like, this is something I've just seen over and over and over again work really well. And the magic in this is what I call kind of the pre-strategy, which is making an effort to give an F about the person you're going to pitch, and to build a relationship, and to show them that you give an F. So what I mean by this, first and foremost, we're talking about collaborations. If you're going to pitch a stranger for their podcast, for their live stream, let's say I was accepting a guest, or let's say I was hiring a team member. This is also how I've hired team members before. You've probably heard me talk about this if you heard my other live stream. The first thing, like if you were gonna pitch me, like instead of just like writing me an email about why you should be on my show and all the value you're gonna provide, if I don't know who you are, and I'm getting one of these every day, right? It doesn't matter how amazing your email is. It's no harm or foul. It's just kind of hard to be heard above the noise in someone's kind of busy inbox. And the mindset I always take when I'm pitching someone else, I just assume people are really busy. And not from like a story of like they're too busy, but I just assume people are pretty busy. And so the first thing I would want to do before ever sending an email is, can I find them online? Can I go engage with their content? Can I, if we're talking about a podcast, can I go listen to a podcast episode? Can I go leave them a review? Can I go share their podcast on my Instagram stories or in my Facebook group? Can I start to build a relationship with them? And can I start to give an F and show them I give an F before I ever reach out and pitch them? So if I was going to pitch another podcast, for example, I'd probably go follow them on social media. I would do exactly this, right? I'd leave some comments on their stuff. I'd listen, I'd leave a review. I would share that review in my stories or share an episode in my stories. Like I would do all of these things to build a little bit of, I'm not just some rando, and I actually care about your work and highlighting it before ever pitching myself. Now, I would do this for a couple of reasons. One, I want to start a relationship. I really like any cold pitch that's cold is really rough, right? I want to see how can I make a warmer cold pitch. I also want to demonstrate to someone, not only am I building this relationship, it's not as cold, I'm not just like some rando off the internet, but I also want to demonstrate that I have done my legwork. I actually care about your work enough to listen and to leave a review. Or if you can't leave a review, at least enough to listen. And I can always tell when people have not listened. When I get pitched, again, like we were talking about earlier, it's pretty obvious there. I also want to show someone this is what it would be like to have me as a guest on your podcast or on your live stream or in your mastermind group or whatever it is you're in the social club that I'm pitching, right? This is what it would be like to have me kind of in your corner. I'm going to do my legwork to support you. This is the benefit to you. You're going to get to benefit from my audience. Not only have I done my homework, not only do I give an F, but I'm going to highlight you. I'm going to share your stuff. I'm going to promote you. Because one of the biggest things, if you're pitching to be a collaborative guest or you want someone to be a collaborative guest for you, one of the things we want to encourage if we're cross-pollinating is we really want to encourage that promotion, because that if you're a guest for someone else and you promote their podcast live stream, right, you're helping them also get the benefit of your group and by bringing your group over or your following over or your email list over to whatever platform you're collaborating on. Vice versa, you get to leverage whatever audience that is and they come back to you. And it's really going to be beneficial for both people if you're helping someone see, hey, look, I'm not just expecting to come into your group or onto your podcast and like leech. I am really going to do my best to make sure I'm bringing some people over as well. So I'm just seeing here. Yvonne says, I love a good tangent. Oh, girl, I do too. I love my tangents. Also, Nala says hi. Nala is going to probably be joining us on most live streams now that we have the earlier time because she likes to eat at 5 p.m. And so she likes to sometimes patiently, sometimes not patiently, look loving and adoringly at me or look at me like she wants to eat me. So this is Nala, and she says hi. So for those of you who don't know her watching now or on the replay. So going back here, yes, we're looking at how can we build that relationship up front, but really being intentional with the relationship you're building, where it's like, how can I build a really intentional relationship that shows I give an F, and that not only that I give an F, I'm going to show you I give an F, and I'm going to show you what it would be like to have me as a guest or for us to collaborate together. Yes, it is again. This is a little bit more work, but imagine if instead of, I don't know, having to find all of these things and copy and paste and send out 100 copy and paste cold emails and like cross your fingers that like maybe someone comes through and maybe it's a good fit or not. If you did one of these, like one pitch like this a month, right, you'd probably get the same numbers in terms of results, and you're probably going to get far better quality by doing one of these a month than, kind of spraying and praying. And you're probably going to reap the benefits far longer because it's going to be such a better quality connection. This also doesn't have to take a super long time, right? I'm always thinking for someone to listen to my podcast, you don't have to listen to the whole thing. Just listen to enough of it to understand, what's going on, what's my vibe, what's my tone, what's the format. If I have a guest, kind of like, how are we doing things? It doesn't even have to be that you're spending like weeks. This is not about like, how do you make this and turn this into a really hard lift and big project. But if you do your homework and you do some of this pre-strategy, that can go a really, really long way. And I had another client who's doing this. They were promoting promoting a book, I believe, and it was amazing how well this worked for them. And what's beautiful, and this is one of the beautiful things, when you start to create collaboration opportunities with people and you do a little bit of that pre-strategy work and you're creating those opportunities and you're creating those relationships, what you'll start to find is opportunities beget other opportunities. Relationships have relationship babies. So kind of what we were talking about earlier, like everybody knows someone else. That's not just when you do a collab and the benefit of the collab in terms of audience growth. Whenever you do a collaboration with someone, if you take the time to do it this way, you are now, for whoever you connected with, they know you as someone that they could refer to someone else. When their friend, when their client is looking for someone as a guest, because it's also not that easy to find really great guests. I mean, this is the benefit. One of the problems you're solving, if you pitch yourself, is finding a quality guest is not always the easiest thing for people. If you're a quality guest, and by quality guest, this isn't like a good enough thing or a worthiness thing. I'm talking about in terms of like doing your homework and showing you care and giving enough. Like these things we're talking about here, and like also doing your work to promote on the other side of things and to highlight the platform you're on. But if you're a quality guest in that way, now whoever you've connected with, they want to refer you out elsewhere. So sometimes just getting the ticket to one dance keeps giving you a ticket to other dances. I rarely, it's kind of like what Kate was saying, I can't remember the last time I pitched myself for something. Part of the reason is exactly what we're talking about. Every time I do something, that makes it easier for someone to refer me someone else. And that also means every time you do a collaboration, your audience also starts to connect the dots as you're someone who's a great guest. So if they'll also reach out for that reason. So I think just remembering like a little legwork up front can just keep compounding in terms of benefits for you. I think sometimes we want to resist things like this because it feels like it'll be a pain in the ass. But I just want to help you connect the dots. Like this can just keep paying off for you long term. And Vaughn says, hashtag relationship babies. That's what I said, yes, relationship babies. Thank you. You're making me crack up at some of the ridiculous things that I say. I'm good for a ridiculous saying anytime. Amanda Bennett says, yes. Why can't I read the whole thing here? And it says, yes, relationships follow relationships. Absolutely. And I think what's so beautiful about relationships following relationships and relationship babies is it really also gets to be that simple and easy. Sometimes it seems like more work, but most of us like to build relationships anyway. And just seeing how that just keeps compounding. My whole business is built that way. This whole sustainability in my business is built that way. Like that is the secret to my business and the ease in my business. If I think back to the last handful of clients that have come through the door, I wager most of them are because of relationships and referrals and everything else I'm doing to help support and nurture that. But yes, relationships beget other relationships. Opportunities beget other opportunities. In the acting world, on the production side, they'd always say, you just need to get a ticket to the first dance, and then you'll keep getting invited to other dances. That's exactly what we're talking about. Nanda says, and that kitty, I'm a cat person. I love Miss Nala, even though she's now looking at me over from this direction. She's sitting in the windowsill. She's got her beg face on. Yvonne says, I'd much rather lay a good foundation once. Yes, so well said. It is exactly that. Let's dig and excavate once. Let's lay the foundation once. Then you only have to build once. That is the way we want to do things, not dig, lay a foundation, dig, lay a foundation, dig, lay a foundation. That is exhausting. That's when business feels like a lot of work. And to be fair, and this is where I just want to keep it real with everyone, with something like this, when we're laying a solid foundation, yes, sometimes that is a little bit more work up front. And I think our online space gets so mad at anything that isn't blissed out, flowy ease. I don't even think on the beach is a thing anymore. I don't even know what the current version of that is, but I think our space can get so resistant around that, and then the pendulum can just swing. And I want to say, yes, this does take a little bit more legwork, but it's not hard, it's not difficult, it's not taxing. It's simply a little bit of legwork, a little bit of delayed gratification, a little bit of foundation laying for long-term benefits. And that goes for whether you're pitching collaborations or booking clients or really anything in business. And when we can just put a temporary pause on that need for instant gratification, it is wild what can happen in business, collaborations and elsewhere. Okay, so I hit you over the head with this. You're all on the same page with me. We are building some relationships. We're doing a little legwork up front. We're going to make sure it's a good fit. We're going to, leave a review or leave a comment on their live stream or shout them out. We're going to do something to build a relationship. Maybe we're going to even spend a week or two doing that. Oh, my battery is dying, so I'm going to plug y'all in just so we don't lose juice while I'm doing this. There we go. Right, we're doing that part. Then, if you've done that, the actual pitch template becomes super easy. Pitching someone is it is just that becomes super easy breezy. And I'm gonna literally walk you through the template I give to my clients. And this feels so important. This is not a one size fits all thing. This is not these are the magic words. This is the magic template that you use to pitch. The magic and everything we're talking about is all the pre-work we just talked about. It's building the relationship. It's giving an F. It's making a little bit of that effort. That is the magic. I'm sharing this here just to help minimize decision fatigue and to help everyone put themselves into action. I love I'm all for my clients will tell you we personalize everything, and I am a lover of templates. I have templates out the wazoo for anything that can just help minimize decision fatigue and just help take out some of where our human brains like to make things harder than they need to be. So that's what I'm going to walk you through here. But if this doesn't feel good, if this is I would never say something that way, that doesn't feel right to me, you do you. This is not the magic 7-step thing. This is just let's minimize decision fatigue so that you can do the pre-work, so you can pitch yourself, and so that you can then be done with it. Because this also doesn't need to be a heavier lift than, the few simple steps we need to take. Yvonne says, gotta play that long game. Amen. Gotta play that long game. And, I'm always saying, play the long game for the long term. But that doesn't mean you can't get results right now. It doesn't have to take a long time. We just want to be available for that long game. So, template, pitching, reaching out. You built the relationship. You listened to the thing. You're this is a great collaboration opportunity. Then it gets to be super simple. I always think, reach out to someone, say their name, make sure you spell it right. Make sure if you're copying and pasting, you don't put someone else's name in there, because I have received that. I know how that goes. Make sure you got their name right. Make sure you put the right name in the name inbox. I know, again, this sounds obvious, but it is really easy, especially when you're nervous. Make sure you are addressing someone by the actual correct name and that you've spelled it correctly, especially if you're using a template. Then I love and this is going to sound so simple, but I want us to remember to be human when we're pitching. I so often get pitched things where it's almost like the humanness has been left out, especially if you've never been in someone's inbox before. Say, how are you? And have a couple niceties. This does not need to be 5 paragraphs, but literally just saying, how are you? It is amazing how just saying, how are you? Someone's like, oh, you're asking how I am, instead of just asking me what I can do for you. And so, how are you? A couple niceties. You don't have to say, how are you? You can say, I hope you're having a great week. I hope this email finds you well. Again, I know this is very simple and very Captain Obvious, but it's very easy to to skip over these things, and really beautiful, heart-centered, nice, smart people do. So just remember to take a beat there. Then I find what's really helpful is to introduce yourself. Who are you? I'm Kim Arigat, singer. I'm a mindset coach and business mentor. I connected with you. Let them know how you found them, right? So you're going to let them know who you are. Be super brief here. Remember, this isn't about you. It's about them. We just need to let them know, who the stranger in their inbox is, and then let them know how you found them. I connected with you because my best friend put your podcast in front of me, and I've just been to the last 5 episodes, and I'm obsessed with it. I'm connected with you because we have a mutual friend, so-and-so, and they raved about you and your work, and I found your podcast, and I so agree with everything they're saying. Let them know how you connected with them, and let them know in kind of here after you connected with them. I find it really helpful to let them know how you came across them, how you connected with them, and let them know 2 things. One, flatter people. Flatter goes a long way, and not in a way where we're blowing smoke up someone's ass, but if you're asking to be a collaborative partner with someone, let them know why. We all like to feel good, right? Make this all about the person in front of you. I also think it's really valuable, the other thing here, is to really spell out that you have consumed a piece of their content and what you specifically liked about it. this feels really important because especially if someone's looking to see if you're a fit for something, I want to know if you've never listened to my podcast, like first, with all the love in the world, why would I pay an editor, pay a copywriter, pay all the things we pay for marketing, give up my time that is really valuable to have you come on the podcast if you can't even listen to 10 minutes of an episode, right? Like, I think it's like a respecting everything we were talking about. And it also helps me to know if you've listened that you, when you say you think you're a fit, that you really might be a fit for a collaboration. What I would really recommend doing is picking something that isn't the most recent title, the most recent episode or thing, and something that could only be understood through the title. So what I find happens so often is people want to pretend that they've shown that they've listened or done their legwork, and so they'll reference something really recent, and they'll just reference like, I loved your episode, blah, blah, blah. Okay, anyone can look up a title, or I so agree with you, blah, 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 and they'll just like rehash the title. And like, look, if you're like, I just want to like spray and pray a little bit, like that will still work, quite honestly, if people are looking for a guest. But if you're really hoping like this is what I really like, I want to pitch this, I want to land this, like this is a collaboration I really want to have, take that extra moment and spell out specifically what you liked, like what was the part that jumped out to you. I remember I was pitched by someone to be on their podcast, and one of the things that stood out to me, and one of the reasons I was like, yes, I will absolutely give up an hour of my time to do this, is when they reach out to me, they listen to my episode, they shouted me out on social media for like 2 weeks before ever reaching out. And then when they pitched me, they spelled out, not only did they share my podcast with their clients, but they spelled out 1 or 2 episodes and really specific nuggets, takeaways that they had. And I was like, I mean, I probably would have said yes anyway because we already had a relationship, but now like hook, line, and sinker, like whatever you want. Like I'm so all in because I can tell you care. That's simple, but those specifics make a world of difference. And that's the same thing even if we weren't pitching collaborations, right? If we're selling and we're pitching a potential client, same thing. The specifics are really what make all the difference. So doesn't have to be anything long, 1 or 2 sentences. Remember, we're invading someone's inbox potentially. So 1 or 2 sentences is all you need. If you have supported their work in any way, if you reviewed it, if you shouted it out, if you left a testimonial, if you left a comment, if you referred it to a client, let them know. Don't assume that they connected the dots on that. For example, because I have a team, I don't always see everything on social media. You could potentially do some of these things and I might not even be aware. And that's going to probably be the case for a lot of people who have a team as well. So this is the time you're making a pitch, you're selling why you and how this is all about them and how you'd be a great guest. This isn't a place to be shy or like, oh, they already know, or I don't want to be braggy, or I don't want to seem like I'm trying too hard. Seem like you're trying too hard. The social club that I pitch, one of the things I let them know a couple things that I did. I'm using that as a reference because I just got an email from them, but and I know they get some like ridiculous number. I think I read like 60,000 applications or something wild. One of the things I did was let them know like the business I've brought them, some of the things I've done, like how me being a guest is not about what I want, but how I can serve them. If you've done anything like that, spell it out in your pitch. Okay, just seeing here. Amanda says, so good. I love to listen to an episode that is related to the topic I'm pitching to see what was already talked about or where I can potentially build on that conversation or offer new perspective. I think that's such a great addition to this as well, and just such a great frame of mind as well, as seeing how can I just not be redundant? How can I bring a new lens? How can I bring a new thought? And because I know this group, I know there's gonna be someone who's gonna think, oh my gosh, well, someone's already covered this topic, I can't as well. So I love what you're saying, Amanda, where we can still pitch a similar topic. People love to hear the same thing over and over again. I literally read the same book over and over again. And we can have a slightly different spin, a slightly different angle, a slightly different way to approach it. So I love you're saying that, Amanda, and that becomes then such a great thing to put in your pitch, to put in your email or however you're reaching out. It's like, I listened to this, I loved it. This is the kind of stuff, the work I love to do. And I wondered if you want to have another conversation with a slightly different angle. It'd be so great to talk about X, Y, Z. So I love that you just shared that, Amanda. That's such gold. My throat. So again, let them know those specifics. Let them know if you did anything to promote, shout them out. How you could have supported them, and then make your specific ask. Let them know, hey, I'm reaching out today because this is where you make your pitch, right? I'm reaching out today because kind of what Amanda was saying. Like, I heard your episode about XYZ. I really think I'd be a great fit. I'm wondering if you're accepting guests for your podcast or for your live stream right now. I'd really love to pitch myself. I'd really love to collaborate with you. Give them a moment and specifically tell them why you're reaching out. And then the piece here that I think is gold and that can make a difference is don't just let them know you're pitching them. This is where we're going to get specific again. Make it really easy for someone to say yes. Remember, it's not about you, it's about them. And give them 1 to 2, 3 max. I would be mindful of not giving people too many things because then decision fatigue is real. This is the same if you are pitching potential clients. Give people 1 to 2 options. Once we get into more options, the brain stops making decisions. But give them 1 to 2 specific topics that you are pitching that you think would be great to collaborate with. So kind of like what Amanda was saying, which I think is so helpful, if you heard a similar topic, say, and I'm pitching, like, I think it'd be great to collaborate and I have this different lens, this different angle. Would you be open to having a conversation? Would it be beneficial to your audience if we talked about, I'm making this up, sales through the lens, I'm a psychologist, through the lens of trauma. I am not a psychologist, but I'm just giving an example here, right? Like, let's say my last guest and I talked about the mindset of sales, and you were a psychologist or a therapist, maybe that is something you would want to bring to the table. I just pulled that out of my behind. I'm not suggesting that that is a topic for anyone, but you can give someone a really specific 1 to 2 topics. And if you want to give yourself some extra brownie points, give them a title that's all worked out, or give them a couple bullet points in terms of what you'd see covering. Now, this is where templates can be beneficial and can also kick you in the butt. Create a template. Have 1 or 2 topics in your back pocket. Have a couple things you always talk about. Have a go-to couple conversations. You can have that all templated out and then just tweak it for each person you're pitching. And that makes things easier. Where this can kick you in the butt is then just be mindful you really are making it specific to the person you're reaching out to. I find this is the place sometimes where I can just tell it's been copied and pasted. And look, I'm not mad at you. I know everyone's busy. I'm not mad at things being copy and pasted. However, if I've never interacted with you before, we've never connected before, we don't have much of a relationship, and all I have are some copy and paste bullets, and they're not specific to what I'm doing to my show, to like how this is going to fit in with kind of the way we host, let's say, the podcast, right? You haven't shared the one question, how you're going to unpack that, for example. I don't have anything else to go on. So all I know is what's in this email. All I know is what you're showing me here. So this is like, I want to be mindful here. This is not to say like make things harder than they need to be, or we're mad at copying and pasting, or we're mad at using things more than once if they're a fit. But we just have to think, how can we help the person in front of you say yes and make it as easy as possible for them to say yes? So just be mindful there, like let things be easy and just take that extra minute or 2 to make it specific. As my cat knocks things over, so that you can, just so you can make it easy for someone to say yes to you. Most people are rooting for you. Most people do, if they're looking for guests, right? If they're accepting guests, it is challenging to find great guests. So most people are sort of like, I hope this is going to be a great fit of a guest. So you can have that mindset, just make it easy for them to say yes. Yvonne says, love a good template. Me too. We template everything over here. I am all for a good template. And I love a good template because it minimizes decision fatigue. It makes everything easier. It helps you stay in process, because I think it's easy for mindset to stop us from being in process. And a template means it's not copy and paste. We still have to, like I'm looking at the template at your clients. There's all these highlighted places where this is where you make it specific and personalized. It just takes out the thinking where we can get in our own way and overthink. So we're going to give these specific topics. We're going to make it specific to who you're pitching. We're going to make it easy for them to say yes. And then if you want to, again, like just give like that extra little like final touch before you close out, I would invite you to let them know why you're great to collaborate with. Let them know you'd be happy then to cross-promote, to cross-pollinate. Let them know you'll share it with your audience. Let them know if it were me, for example, I would say, hey, I have a Facebook group of 16,000 people. I'd be so happy every time I'm a guest. I always share everything I do twice with my Facebook group. I share it twice on Instagram. I share it twice to my email list. let them know that. Don't assume that they're going to know that. And this isn't about having a massive Facebook group or an email list, but let them know how you're going to be a great guest. Or if you've, got some past press you want to highlight, let's say you were in, Forbes, this is a place to just let them know, be brief, but you can definitely let someone know before closing out. And then let them very clearly know your details. Like, thank them, and here are the details. Here are the next steps. Like, thank them for their time and let them know how to contact you. Can they hit reply? Like, what's an easy way for them to take that next step if they're going to be a fit? As opposed to, and I know, again, this sounds very simple and very obvious, but it can be easy to forget after we've put all this work into something. Same with if you're reaching out to a potential client, we can almost forget that call to action part, where it's like we just want to thank someone for their time and then make it really, really clear and obvious whatever that easy next step is. So again, we're not asking someone on the other side to have to do any extra thinking. We're assuming we are coming into a crowded inbox, that they're probably busy doing other things. This is not something they were expecting. How can we lay everything out, remove as much decision fatigue as possible, so all they have to do is say, oh my gosh, you just made my life so easy. I would love to have you. Yes, let's connect. Let's see if we have any comments here. And you can share your links to anything you want. So that's the general template. I was going to say a different word there that I don't even know if it was a word, but that's the general template that I use, that I walk clients through. You can see how there's so much room to personalize it there, but also a lot of room to streamline it so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And the magic, the secret sauce to it is just, again, spending that moment to just do a little bit of homework up front and seeing that homework doesn't have to be a heavy lift. It doesn't have to be overthinking. It doesn't have to be now for the next 6 months you're going to super stock someone's platform. It just means doing, a little bit, 15 minutes of some work up front to show you give an F before reaching out to really get that payoff long term. I'm just going to see if we have any questions. I don't think so. But if you have any questions, throw them at me. I just did a weird thing. I need to get used to this. Feel free to throw them at me. And same with this on the replay. If you have any questions, throw them at me. And a reminder, if you've left a comment now or on the replay you've left a comment, you will be entered to win a copy of Content That Stands Out and Sells. We will pick that on Thursday. I'm going to do a real quick recap here just in case there are any questions. And then, man, it is 5 o'clock. Nala needs to eat, so then I will hop off and feed her. But this is a recap here. What we were talking about is just that reminder that whether or not you're looking to pitch someone today or tomorrow, or have someone come onto your platform, remembering the power of relationships, remembering the power of just temporarily putting the instant gratification to the side so you can have a little of that delayed gratification to benefit from some of the foundation building for those relationships, for the long-term benefits, how really the power of one in relationship can ripple out in your business. And then just a reminder of the benefit of collaborations and how that really can help you get in front of new people and really help have that cross-pollination benefit for you. It really is so powerful. And I honestly think the louder our online space gets, the more and more beneficial collaborations will be. I think they've always been beneficial, but I think it's just, we see this with really, really big brands, right? We see big brands collaborating with other big brands all the time. That's not an accident. They have often millions, if not more, billions, dollars to put into advertising. If they're doing collaborations, we have to take from that and think there must be a reason for that. And then looking at the really simple pitch strategy, seeing really the benefit in your pitches, the power, the secret sauce in your pitches is generally going to be just taking that moment to do that homework and starting that relationship, showing you give an F first, and then really being specific in your pitch and outreach to show, hey, I built a relationship with you, I give an F, and here's specifically why I think it would be a great fit for your program or your show. Kate says, thank you, Kim. Thank you for being here. I adore you, and I love getting to have these conversations. I hope this was valuable for everyone. If you have any questions on the replay, throw them at me. And as always, if this is something you want support with, if you're like, okay, I got what you're saying here, but now this is just making me realize I probably could use a little support on the mindset side of things because I just see maybe where I'm making things harder than they need to be, or I have some stories around reaching out or around being able to book clients, or some fear of rejection, or just on the practical strategy side of things as we're talking through this where you're like, oh, maybe my strategy is super overcomplicated, or I could use some support selling in a way that feels really good and that, doesn't feel icky and is a little bit more relationship based. That is what I support my clients with. It would be an honor to support you. we announced last week, I think, thanks to my amazing team, we opened up 2 additional spots. So usually I've been fully booked for years at this point. Usually as we have spots open up, it's generally just because a client has completed and we have, a spot become available, which just depends on client renewals, how many spots we have at any given time. But this is the first time in over a year where we've actually expanded my roster and capacity. We added 2 additional spots. We might actually be able to do 1 because we were looking at the hours I'm on calls. I was looking at this with my OBM the other day and seeing I might even have capacity for a little bit more because we've been offloading more to team and it's getting the back end just that much more well-oiled. Meaning it's a really great time to connect if you've been thinking about working with me, if you've been curious about working with me, if that's something that's been kind of like, oh, I wonder what that would be like. We definitely have 1 more spot that we've opened up for, June's next month. We might be able to have 1 more. I have to double check the hours on that. And then I likely will not open up any additional spots for the rest of the year, if not ever, because this is more a capacity thing than anything else. I will have spots become available as clients finish out, but I don't know, when that next spot might be. So it is a great time if that is something where you're like, I know I want some one-on-one support. I know I'm ready to take my business to the next level, to fucking make money on my terms and to really get my business well-oiled, but to also get the support so I'm staying out of my own way and feeling really good doing that. I would love to connect with you. I will drop a discovery call link below. It would be my honor to support you. I work with the best clients. I was just thinking about my clients' calls today. So I would love to have you come into the Unicorn Club with my unicorn clients, and it would be a joy to support you. And either way, if that's not you and you are here in the group and that doesn't feel like where you're at, I appreciate you being here. We'll be giving out that course later. I am so grateful to all of you for being a part of this group. And thank you for, as always, for being here, for hanging out for the live stream. And we'll be back next Thursday with another topic for you. And Miss Nala says thank you because now she's going to go eat. Nala, can you say bye to them? Right, so I love you all. Thank you for being here. It's always such a joy to get to hang, and I'll see you next week. Bye.